Part 146. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1451. You are the Dragon Demon King, why not? Zuyun was surprised. Since he was the Demon Dragon King, he must have come up with a way to solve the problem of demonizing the demon dragon. Even if he can't solve it alone, it should be possible if he gathers the strength of his clan members. Friend Yun, please don't misunderstand, Immortal King Dian hurriedly came out to explain, we are all demonic powers, but these demonic powers are contaminated with demonic energy. It would be okay if the Dragon King and all the demonic dragons do not help. If they help, they can only remove the demonic power, but instead the spirit of the spirit will be left behind. In this way, the spirit of the spirit will not be restrained by the demon power, and it will cause greater harm to fellow Taoist Zhu, and even. Zuyun frowned, even me can become a demon. Exactly so. The demonic dragon king glanced at Dian Immortal King gratefully, and then said, but please rest assured, fellow Taoist, after some time, those demonized demonic dragons will suppress the demonic energy on their own, and they will take back these demonic powers, that's it? Zuyun was not happy about this and asked, how long will it take? This old dragon doesn't know anymore. The demon dragon king shook his head and said, Dian is also waiting for those tribesmen to regain their sanity, and then we will follow him to the imperial city to help the immortal emperor. Zhu went to look at the Dian immortal emperor and said helplessly, I have already met the Night Immortal King. Now there are no problems in the imperial city, and the situation has been alleviated. But I am afraid that if it takes too long, it will be too late change. Dian Immortal King pondered for a moment and said, so fellow Taoist Zhu came from the Duanxian River. I just came here to take a look, but I didn't expect to be trapped. Zuyun was also helpless, because he was a little slow to react. He thought it was a normal demon dragon in Demon Dragon Valley and thought that a foreign enemy was attacking, but he didn't expect that it was caused by a demonized demon dragon. Then, fellow Taoist Zhu, you think that changes will happen if things are delayed? What kind of change is this change? Immortal King Dian was naturally worried about the safety of the imperial city and asked further questions. To be honest, I have killed 5 of the 15 immortal kings. What I am afraid of is that the He Immortal officer will take action. The Immortal Emperor has been confirmed, and there is a high probability that the He Immortal officer has rebelled. Dian Immortal King exclaimed in shock, He Immortal official. Yes, it is He Xianguan. Zuyun was very sure. The information obtained by combining the water incarnation and the original body was confirmed by communicating with the Immortal Emperor. No wonder, no wonder. Dian Immortal King began to pace back and forth, but in fact, he was somewhat glad that he and Day Immortal King were also on guard at that time. Where is the Immortal Emperor now? After a while, Immortal King Dian stopped and asked. The Immortal Emperor is in King Dawang City. I'm afraid something might happen if he comes here, so I asked him to stay there. I will handle the matter in the Imperial City. Thank you so much, fellow Taoist Zhu Dao, Immortal King Dian said gratefully, the Immortal Emperor is the belief of all immortal people. If something happens to him, the consequences may be disastrous. I just didn't expect that the He Immortal official would have such a scheme. Zuyun smiled bitterly and said, King Yangxian, let's think about how to solve the current problem. From what I see, you can either take part of the demon dragon back with you first, or wait until the restraints on me are released. The Dragon King said, I don't know when it will be solved. Immortal King Dian spread his hands and said, moreover, if I want to go back, I have to wait for City Master Xue to activate the teleportation formation again. So. Zuyun thought for a moment and said, why don't I use my incarnation to lead a group of dragons back to the Imperial City via the Duanxian River? This way, if something happens to the Imperial City, we can delay it for some time. After saying that, Zuyun looked at the demon dragon king again and asked, "Can the dragon king cut off the immortal river?" "Of course it can be done," the demon dragon king nodded with a smile and said, "Back then, we discovered the demon dragon valley here through the Duanxian river. And it is blocked by the fairy mountain, so the influence of the demonic energy is not great." Zuyun was immediately overjoyed and said, "Without further delay, in this case, let my incarnation lead some of the demon dragons." "King Xianxia, what do you think?" The demon dragon king did not agree directly, but looked at the Dian immortal king. After all, Zuyun is still a stranger to him. Even though, because of the totem pole, he has the aura of the destiny ancestral beast. Zuyun naturally guessed the demon dragon king's thoughts, and with a thought, he took out all the remaining 10 totem poles from the ring. "Dragon King, do you recognize these beast monuments?" The demon dragon king turned his head, his face changed, and his pupils suddenly shrank. "Blessings to fellow Taoist, Destiny Beast Monument, where do you come from?" Zuyun smiled faintly and said, "Obtain them from an evil cultivator. Now, these beast tablets have been used by me. In addition, before coming to the imperial city, I handed over the dragon and snake clans to 2 demon saints respectively. Therefore, there is no need for the dragon king to doubt it. There is a beast monument here, so I won't doubt it." The demon dragon king looked at Zuyun with a much more respectful look, and said, "Those demonized demon dragons still need to be held by me here. The rest of the demon dragons can follow the incarnations of fellow Taoist Zhu. It's just." "Just what?" Zuyun felt happy and asked without changing his expression. "After going to the Qingping Immortal Kingdom, we will inevitably be harassed by demonic energy. When the time comes, I hope fellow Taoist Zhu can help. We are not afraid of the Immortals. We would rather die in the hands of the Immortals than turn into demons or monsters." "Immortal beast." Zuyun laughed, and his water incarnation also appeared, patting his chest and assuring, "Don't worry, Dragon King. After I get out, my incarnation will go straight to the Great Delusion King city along the broken Immortal River and tell the Dragon Demon Saint to send the Dragon Steel over." The Dragon King was surprised and said, "Does Taoist Zhu mean that the Dragon Steel can dissolve the demonic energy in the tribe members?" "Of course it can. If the Great Delusion King city is not far away, why would I wait here?" "Ha ha ha," the Demon Dragon King was overjoyed and said, "Good, great. In this case, let's set off as soon as possible. If Taoist Zhu's incarnation brings the Dragon Steel, the Imperial City has not changed, and the tribe members here have not suppressed the demonic energy, then Taoist Zhu will have to use the Dragon Steel to solve their problems." Zuyun smiled and said, "Of course." Whether it was the Great Evolution Immortal King, the Dragon King, or Zuyun, they were all very excited about this result. Half an hour later, the water incarnation led tens of thousands of demon dragons of different realms and jumped into the broken Immortal River. The river bank on this side instantly withdrew its momentum. Without such suppression, the demonized demon dragons on the other side gradually roared as the strength of the demon dragons increased and decreased. At the same time, Zuyun also felt that the demon power binding on his body gradually tightened a little. He also felt an inexplicable cold demon energy, which actually tried to corrode into his body, which forced Zuyun to use the chaos power to fight against it. "Fellow Taoist Zhu, quickly stop the power, otherwise something will happen." Just when Zuyun thought this was the right move, the Dragon Demon King suddenly said in surprise, which scared Zuyun, "I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1452. Zuyun did not hesitate and quickly withdrew the chaos power in his body back into the chaos lotus heart. This sudden lack of strength to resist, the demonic power and devilish energy shrank suddenly, causing Zuyun's body to feel extremely painful. But the pain only lasted for a while, and it passed quickly, and then it became as tight as before. After being bound to a certain level, he keenly felt that the evil spirit and the spirit were consuming each other. He couldn't help but feel happy, and his expression became much more relaxed. "Dragon King, why is this?" The demon Dragon King said, "I hope you don't be impatient, fellow Taoist. The old dragon will explain to you later." Zuyun nodded, said nothing, and just waited. Immortal King Dian on the side also said nothing, staring ahead. More than an hour later, the water incarnation led a group of demonic dragons through the undercurrent and arrived at the imperial city. At a tall building by the river, Xianxuan's expression suddenly changed. He had already felt the aura of the demonic dragon. However, he didn't notice that the water incarnation was using the water escape technique, so he was even more surprised as to why these demonic dragons suddenly appeared. Could it be that these demonic dragons also sensed that the demonic beasts in the Duanxian River came here? He frowned and had no choice but to make such a guess. Previously, through the immortal talisman, he had called on the remaining 10 immortal kings to attack the imperial city and kill the Day Immortal King and Dian Immortal King in the city. But now, the reinforcements have not arrived, but something has happened again. Could it be caused by Zuyun? But I didn't sense Zuyun's aura in the river. The Hexian official didn't know what to do. These demonic dragons swam from the river and behaved differently from monsters. They were obviously normal. In addition, Qingping Immortal Kingdom has always had the legend of the demonic Dragon Valley, which made the Hexian official certain that the upper reaches of the Duanxian River would be the demonic Dragon Valley. I didn't expect Demon Dragon Valley to be there. After muttering, Xianxuan's eyes suddenly lit up. The demon dragons in Demon Dragon Valley may have been brought by Zuyun, and since Zuyun has disappeared, he may have died at the hands of these demon dragons. Since there is no Zuyun, Demon Dragon Valley can definitely become one of mine. The way out? If I can no longer control the subsequent development, I can completely retreat from Duanxian River. Suddenly, a smile appeared on official He Xian's face. He has a bottom line. Just survive. Keep the green hills and don't worry about running out of firewood. Thinking of this, he took out the immortal talisman again. Hurry up, the imperial city has changed. A group of normal demon dragons have entered the city. Perhaps they are reinforcements brought by the immortal emperor. After saying that, he stuffed the immortal talisman into his arms with a meaningful smile on his face. If they speed up, the 10-city coalition will be able to enter the imperial city by tomorrow at most. You go directly to the imperial city. In the water incarnation said to the leading demon dragon in the transformation stage. Friend Zudeo, won't you go out with us? If we go to the imperial city, what if some immortals think that we are demonized monsters? No, Shuawawa said with a smile. Now the Great Knight Immortal King controls the overall situation in the city, and ordinary immortals, everyone is in danger, and they are all trying to do their own thing, and will not waste their efforts and be thankless. Moreover, when Immortal King Dian went to Demon Dragon Valley, he also made an arrangement with Immortal King Dian. Once you go and express your intention, Immortal King Dian will take you in. But the transformed demon dragon stopped talking. There is a hidden traitor in the city, a Hexian official. Every move in Hezhong is known to him. He must have been very aware of it when we came, so there is no need to stay in Hezhong. Instead, we left Duanxian River. He can't control your every move. I see. The transformed demon dragon suddenly understood, nodded to Zuyun, and then transmitted a message in the demon dragon language, instructing the 10,000 demon dragons to shrink their bodies as much as possible, and then jumped out of the Duanxian River. The broken immortal river suddenly rippled with water, and from time to time it would set off water pillars that reached the sky, which attracted the few immortals on the street to hide in their houses and use some pseudo-immortal crystals to open their own protective formations for fear of these demonic dragons. Will affect them. The transformed demon dragon remembered the words of the water incarnation. After the demon dragons were assembled, a dragon roar spread throughout the entire imperial city. In the palace, the great knight immortal king suddenly stood up, with an incredible look in his eyes. He couldn't understand the dragon's roar, but he could hear the emotion in it. It was not the meaningless roar of a demented monster. They must be from Demon Dragon Valley. Dian probably can't wait for City Master Xue to activate the teleportation array. As the great knight immortal king guessed, he rushed out of the palace and rushed towards the Duanxian river. When Wanlong came out of the river, it roared so loudly that the river immortal official was so confused that he didn't notice at all. An inconspicuous water spiritual power in the Duanxian river drifted downstream with the current. What do these demonic dragons mean? Xianxia forced himself to calm down and leaned on the windowsill, staring at the transformed demon dragon. Any demon dragon here will not be his opponent. He only needs 10% of his demon power to control the water of the broken immortal river, and he can be beaten to death directly. But here, there are thousands of demonic dragons. He can kill one, but not 10,000. Great Knight Immortal King. Suddenly, he saw the immortal power surging in the direction of the harem, and the Great Knight Immortal King was running towards him. He is. Seeing the Great Knight Immortal King running between the transformed demon dragons with his own eyes, Xianxia had bad thoughts in his mind. Seeing them chatting happily, Xianxia immediately gritted his teeth. He only guessed half right. These demon dragons came to the imperial city, but they were the reinforcements of the Great Knight Immortal King. Look, we really need to prepare for a retreat. Xianxia took a deep breath. The remaining 10 city coalition forces were about 1 million. But the real backbone forces with extraordinary combat power were at most 100,000. If everything goes well, they can be on par with the demon dragons. The only variable is those monsters. Xianxia put away his thoughts and used his immortal roots to sense the monsters lurking far away at the bottom of the river. No, the transformed demon dragon roared so loudly, but these monsters didn't react at all. Why is that? Doubts appeared in his heart again, which made Xianxia feel even more that this battle, he must lose. Fortunately, he also made plans to lose. As long as there is a retreat, nothing matters. Since I can no longer control the overall situation, let's just make this side more chaotic. Xianxia showed a grim smile, fearing that the world would not be in chaos. As long as enough strong men of Qingping Immortal Kingdom die, his backup plan can still be used. When he becomes the only top-grade immortal root in the entire Immortal Kingdom, he will be unstoppable. The helpers that the master has found are making a lot of noise. At the bottom of the river, Xyla curled his lips and ordered a group of monsters to continue waiting. Just now, the water incarnation found him and asked him to continue to stay put. Unless the rebels break into the palace. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1453. The water incarnation sneaked all the way, using its speed to the extreme. He wants to get the dragon head pillar as soon as possible. Now, the biggest enemies are rushing towards the imperial city. Presumably even if the river immortal officer discovers his existence, he can only think that he is just escaping from the land of right and wrong, right? In addition, regardless of whether the main body will be released in advance, the dragon head pillar can play a great role. If a war breaks out in advance, the existence of the dragon head pillar can also help the injured dragons recover, which invisibly allows the palace to ensure its combat power as much as possible. On the contrary, among the immortals of the 10 cities alliance army, one less one died. With one situation ebbing and the other ebbing, the coalition forces will undoubtedly be defeated. Under the full force of the water incarnation, he rushed to the king of Dawang city in just one day. Zuyun, why did you come back incarnate again? When Longwu saw Zuyun, his expression was extremely exciting. Without further ado, where is the immortal emperor? Water Avatar asked immediately. In the city lord's mansion, I'm explaining some things to Xiaoji. Give me the dragon head pillar, and then you find Lao Jin and ask him to give me the snake head pillar as well. And then, tell the immortal emperor to come to me quickly. The water incarnation finished speaking in one breath, then sat cross-legged on the ground, holding a few water spirit beads in his hand, frantically replenishing the water spirit power. He swore that he had never run so hard for so long in his life. Okay, I'll go now. Seeing the incarnation of Shui being so anxious, Longwu also suspected that something big might have happened and he didn't dare to neglect it. Half an hour later, the immortal emperor rushed to the water incarnation, his expression extremely solemn. Imperial City, what happened? The water avatar opened his eyes and said, I'll talk to you later, you come with me to the Imperial City. After hearing this, the immortal emperor also kept silent and waited until Lao Jin sent the snake head pillar over. The water incarnation took it, and then said, do you have an immortal boat? With your envoy, we will rush to the Imperial City. Besides, the immortal emperor immediately cut through the void, took out an immortal boat, and stepped on it together with the water incarnation. The water incarnation said, I'll make a long story short, please listen carefully, I still need to restore my spiritual power later. After saying this for half an hour, the immortal emperor knew the current situation in the Imperial City. But in comparison, the speed of the pseudo-immortal boat is not as fast as the water incarnation escape. It will take at least 2 days to return now. At this time, thousands of troops gathered outside the Imperial City. Millions of immortals completely surrounded the Imperial City leaning on the mountain to the north. It is no exaggeration to say that one of these immortals could flood the Imperial City with just a spit of spit. He Xianguan, you need a reason. A group of immortal kings attacked the Xian official in front of them. Hearing only his words, the 10 immortal kings gave up their fight for the throne. Do I need to say anything else? He Xianguan looked indifferent and said, each of you has the immortal talisman, but why, after I issued the assembly order, only 10 of you arrived? You mean, an immortal king stood up and said, those 5 immortal kings are really dead. I don't need to lie to you, He Xianguan said with a solemn face, you all know what I want, right? With my strength, it is impossible to sit on the throne. I only want one of you to become the immortal emperor, and then give me the opportunity to break through the supreme immortal roots, and then let me be free from the jurisdiction of the immortal kingdom, so I have no reason to lie to you. As soon as these words came out, all the immortal kings fell silent. Okay, He Xianguan has already reached this point, why do we still doubt him? Whether Dao or the others are dead or not coming, it means they can't help at all. It's better to wait until the account is taken. Once we reach the Imperial City, it's too late for us to differentiate ourselves. Another immortal king said. No hurry, He Xianguan interrupted, now, a demon dragon appears in the immortal kingdom. According to my guess, it may be caused by the monk who is traveling with the immortal emperor. Of course, it is also possible that immortal King Dian has found the demon dragon. Longgu has invited reinforcements. Demon Dragon Valley. The expressions of all the immortal kings changed. They all also know that the demon dragon has not been born for tens of thousands of years, and it may be that there are many people in its clan. There is no need to panic, He Xianguan smiled faintly and said, I specifically counted, and there are only about 10,000 demon dragons. Moreover, the immortal people in the city are in danger and will not take action against us. So, 1 million will it be difficult for a large army to capture the palace with only 10,000 demon dragons guarding it? Indeed. Under the words of the Xian official, all the immortal kings were relieved. 10,000 demon dragons. Isn't it enough for us to kill one person out of 100? At this time, another immortal king said, according to our news, Day Immortal King and Dian Immortal King have ordered the immortals from the 3 cities to come. There may be hundreds of thousands of them, right? The Great Night Immortal King has taken over the territory of the Great Wrong Immortal King. Desert Immortal King, you and the Great Wrong Immortal King are brothers. I must have given your order, and many of the close followers of the Great Wrong Immortal King have switched to you, right? The Desert Immortal King looked indifferent and said, I can't guarantee it. Mo Immortal King is cautious, he Xianxia disagreed, and said to the other Immortal Kings, but no matter what, the other 3 cities are actually not aggressive, and the immortals under the jurisdiction of the Wrong Immortal King may not necessarily treat the Wrong Immortal King. The Night Immortal King is loyal. The Dian King's control is still short, so the real threats are Dian King City and Dian King City, which are not very powerful. Official Hexian had already thought about these words. In that case, then tell me about your plan. At least, the coalition forces of the 3 cities haven't arrived yet, right? He Xianxia glanced at the Immortal King, nodded, and said, what the Great Zhou Immortal King said is right, and that's why I'm so eager to summon you all here. Take advantage of their lack of troops and directly kill into the Imperial City. Kill. The Great Desert Immortal King suddenly raised the pseudo-immortal weapon in his hand, raised it to the sky, and shouted at the same time. Kill. The immortals belonging to the Great Desert shouted in unison, and the sound of more than 100,000 elite soldiers made even the walls of the Imperial City tremble. Then, the rest of the immortals also shouted out. Kill. 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 The shouts of killing shook the sky. Millions of immortals caused the mountains behind the Imperial City to begin to shake, and countless rubble rolled down. Even some old houses in the city were unable to bear the weight and cracks appeared. These are at least houses built with medium-grade spirit stones. The palace, the highest point. The face of the Great Night Immortal King was extremely ugly. He had discovered the millions of immortals 10 miles away. He also used the immortal talisman to contact the coalition forces of the 2 cities. The news he got was that it would take at least 1 day to arrive. But those immortals who were just stronger and faster accounted for about 1/10 of the total number. If these people came first, they would undoubtedly die. Helplessly, the Great Night Immortal King could only let them arrive at the same time. In other words, the power in his hands at present was only the 10,000 demon dragons and dozens of his and the Great Yan Immortal King's confidants. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1454. Seeing such a fierce momentum, all the immortal kings were very satisfied. Anyway, they didn't need to charge in front. As long as they took down the Imperial City, what would happen if more ordinary immortals died? Their ultimate goal was to take down the Imperial Palace and become the Immortal Emperor. Then they could gather all the resources of the Immortal Kingdom, find the way to the spiritual world, and then achieve enlightenment and ascend. At that time, who would care about the life and death of Qingping Immortal Kingdom? Everyone listened to the order, go straight to the palace. At the command of the Great Desert Immortal King, all the immortals rushed towards the city. The tightly closed city gate made of a whole piece of top-grade spiritual stone was shattered by the charge of the immortals in front. Not only this place, but also the city gates on the other 2 sides, the same thing. The streets in the city were already empty and no one was seen. The ordinary immortals living in the Imperial City hid in the house and trembled, fearing that they would be killed by mistake if they went out on the street. No one stopped them, and the immortals surrounded the palace like a tide in an instant. It's time to go to war. The Great Night Immortal King looked extremely ugly, but he had to deal with this battle. He didn't know how long the palace could be defended, so he could only hope that Zuyun and the Great Yan Immortal King would come back. The Knight Immortal King, if we force it, we will be outnumbered, and this is not a wise move. At this time, Leng Bing suddenly spoke up and stopped the great Knight Immortal King from giving orders. What do you think, deist fellow Leng? The great Knight Immortal King turned around and asked. Leng Bing smiled casually. He had seen more tragic fights than this. To be honest, millions of immortals did not affect his judgment at all. The Knight Immortal King, our ultimate goal is just to delay time. If you move, I'm sure those more than 10 immortal kings will rush towards you. So, you step back and let Leng show his skills first. The original intention of the great Knight Immortal King was to suppress these rushing immortals with his superior immortal roots, but when he heard Leng Bing's words, he suddenly realized it. Yes, they only need to delay time, and leave the rest to God's will. Then I'll trouble you, fellow deist Leng. Leng Bing laughed wildly. Knight Fairy King, fellow deists, just watch. After saying that, he stepped on his feet, soared up, and immediately soared in the air, causing all the immortals to look up. After seeing that Leng Bing had no false immortal power and was a cultivator from the spiritual world, hundreds of immortals who could fly in the crowd flew towards Leng Bing. All of a sudden, the sky was dark and dense, forming a huge barrier between the palace and the immortal kings outside the imperial city. Leng Bing showed a triumphant smile. He just didn't want those immortal kings to see his tricks. The Thorn Demon, the top is up to you. He whispered, and a black shadow suddenly jumped out of a strange bag on his waist. It turned out to be that demon beast. Leave the bottom to me, let's see who can hold on longer. As soon as the voice fell, the Thorn Demon plunged straight into the crowd in front of him. These ordinary immortals, crowded together, couldn't use their skills at all. It's not that easy to hurt it. Its eyes flashed black light, and instantly a black light curtain formed with its body as the center, and began to expand continuously, slowly swallowing these immortals. At the same time, Leng Bing also fell to the ground, and the spirit of the devil on his body suddenly burst out. Cold and icy, the temperature around suddenly dropped. Suddenly, these immortals felt that they couldn't move. Die! Leng Bing roared, and the devil's energy suddenly increased. The immortals who were first attacked by the devil's energy in front of them turned into black ice sculptures. Leng Bing's devil's energy also has ice attributes. Awesome, is this the strength of the tribulation period? De Go and Ergo were all amazed, and Sun Qiniang next to them showed a belligerent look in her eyes. I'm going to practice swordsmanship too. The other side will be left to you three. Remember not to be greedy for merit, and to protect yourself first. With a delicate shout, Sun Qiniang rushed to another place, and the Wind Dragon Thunder Sword suddenly appeared in her hand. At the same time, the ultimate Phoenix Fire also emerged from her body. Before people arrived, the fire light came first. A sea of fire spread among the immortals. The immortals all used pseudo-immortal power to fight against it, but they didn't expect that Sun Qiniang's killer move was her sword. Wailings rose everywhere where the sword light went. Ordinary immortals originally used immortal roots to control pseudo-immortal power as a means. And when they were approached by sword cultivators, they were simply unable to deal with it, not to mention that Sun Qiniang was a sword body and had unparalleled swordsmanship. At the same time, there was also the supreme spiritual sword of the Wind Dragon Thunder Sword in her hand. One sword, the wind and clouds surged. Two swords, the thunder light was mighty. Ergu, junior sister is so powerful. Although we are not as good as her, we cannot be inferior to her in momentum. Daegu was full of heroic spirit and his sword intent was surging. Although he was only in the nascent soul stage, fighting with immortals had nothing to do with his realm. After that, he rushed into the crowd with the Fengguo sword given to him by Zuyun. Daegu, wait for me. Ergu's figure flashed ghostly, and the big knife in his hand had already chopped down on the head of an immortal. Two uncles, wait for my disciple. It was the first time that Tu Duyu saw such a scene, and he immediately followed with the steps of Chang Shengju. When he approached the crowd, he suddenly took out a stack of talismans and threw them into the crowd. Ha ha ha, Tu Duyu, your method is very similar to that of Xiao Zhu back then. Tu Duyu threw out fireball talismans one after another as if they were free. Although the damage of a fireball talisman is limited, it can't stop the number of them. Moreover, Tu Duyu also mixed some firebird talismans, earth thorn talismans, golden light talismans, etc. from time to time. It made it easier for Daegu and Ergu to kill the enemy. Can't embarrass master. Tu Duyu said secretly, and suddenly punched back, green dragon fist. Amidst the roar, a green dragon shadow suddenly took shape and rushed straight towards the crowd. Wherever it went, countless immortals were blasted to pieces, and a road was opened directly in the crowd. Two uncles, you are a little slow in killing. Tu Duyu shouted, took a breath, and continued to throw talismans. Good fellow, it's fine that Xiao Zhu is better than us, but even his apprentice dares to laugh at me. Big Dog laughed and said, Ergo, work harder, stop playing. Ergo chopped off a monk's head with a knife and said, I didn't play. I changed from a small knife to a big knife, and I'm still a little uncomfortable. Your small knife is used to stab people to death, and this knife is also used to chop people to death. They are both killed in one blow, so what's there to be uncomfortable with? Big Dog said disdainfully. You kill people without any pain when you are standing. You originally learned the way of the Overlord sword, but I learned the way of the Trickster sword. Have you ever seen someone carrying a big knife to attack? That's your own business, don't blame me. Big Dog didn't take it seriously and continued to kill into the crowd. Ergo shook his pigtail, as if he had realized something, and simply put away the knife. Your palm. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1455. Ergu's understanding is not very good. Although his strength has improved a lot these days when he switched to using a broadsword, after all, he does not have a complete sword master, so the expected effect is not achieved when using it. On the contrary, I recently had an exchange with Len Bing about the practice and use of Yaoluo Gong, and I gained something. Sure enough, after Ergu put away his sword, he had the power to deal with such a group of attacking immortals. His palms were flawless and he was extremely effective in killing the enemy. Outside the city, the sight of all the immortal kings was blocked and they couldn't see clearly what was going on. There is a black veil of thorn demon in the sky. The ground is blocked by city walls. He Xianguan, how long do you think it will take before they capture the palace? The desert immortal king asked. I don't know. Anyway, after the palace is captured, there will be news inside, so you immortal kings don't need to be anxious. Moreover, if the great knight immortal king takes action, you will surely be able to feel it. At that time, it means that they are at the end of their fight. Yes, I also believe that when the great knight immortal king takes action, it is a signal that the building will collapse. We might as well stay here temporarily and see if reinforcements from the great knight immortal king and Dian immortal king will arrive. So what if they come? There are no immortal officials with high-grade immortal roots in the 3 cities. Just one of the 10 of us can completely suppress them. An immortal king is extremely disdainful. Although everyone knows that this is rhetoric and suppressed by immortal roots, it still has a certain scope. The more people you suppress, the weaker the effect will be. Otherwise, they would bring millions of immortals, and the great knight immortal king alone would be enough. Of course, it is not a problem for the 10 immortal kings to take action and suppress 500,000 immortals, making it difficult for them to move forward. I still want to remind you not to be careless. Xianguan said meaningfully, his mind was full of the monsters in Duanxian River. He also has his own plan. As long as these monsters emerge from the Duanxian River, he will take the opportunity to escape into the Duanxian River and retreat towards the demonic Dragon Valley. If we join forces, even if the Immortal Emperor comes, we won't be afraid. Yes, the G family's hexagram immortal roots are unparalleled, but even the Immortal Emperor doesn't dare to show up at this time, which shows that he has already calculated the result. Brother Zhou Wang, this idea coincides with that of my king. I also think so. Ha ha ha, heroes think alike. Official Hexian watched these immortal kings complementing each other indifferently, but in fact, he did not have much confidence in the battle in this palace. After all, he saw Zhu Yun jump into the Duanxian River, but did not see him come out of the river. Even though, he guessed that Zhu Yun was dead. But he wanted to see people in life and corpses in death, but he didn't even see a hair. Little did he know that Zhu Yun's water incarnation had escaped far away from King Dawang City and came here with the Immortal Emperor. And his true body is guarding the demonic Dragon Valley. It would be great fun if Xianxia rushed to Demon Dragon Valley and happened to encounter Zhu Yun's restraints being untied. In the city, the murderous aura is overwhelming, and spiritual power, demonic energy, and pseudo-immortal power are constantly intertwined. With the help of a group of helpers, more than 10,000 immortals who rushed to the front were already dead. But such a number, for a million-strong army, is only 1 in 100, and it does not hurt the bones at all. On the contrary, the weaker Tu Duduo and Daegu Ergu retreated to the palace first. "Thank you 3 fellow Taoists for your help," Day Immortal King said with a grateful expression. "It's time for the demon dragons to go into battle, right?" Having said that, a middle-aged old man stood up behind the great knight Immortal King, who was the transformed demon dragon in human form. "Yes, Yen Wang, what fellow Daoist Leng said earlier is that our goal is just to delay time. The demon dragon's body is very powerful. Instead of attacking and killing the enemy, we might as well use our body to block their way to the palace." The great knight Immortal King's pupils shrank. He knew that this would cause the demon dragon blocking the way to be killed by the immortals. But there is no doubt that the transformed demon dragon made the most correct decision. "Fellow Daoist dragon, it's up to you to make the arrangements." The great knight Immortal King seemed to wave his hand feebly. After watching the transformed demon dragon begin to direct the tribesmen to move forward, he looked at Tu Duduo and others beside him. At this time, they were holding spiritual stones and spiritual beads in their hands and were recovering frantically. "I don't know how the Immortal Emperor is doing now, I hope he's fine." Except for the Demon Dragon clan, no one knew that Zhu Yun's water incarnation went to King Dawang City. But it was also because of this that the transformed demon dragon made such a decision. Otherwise, with their arrogant temperaments, it would be impossible for them to die in vain. Even if you die, you must die on the way to kill the enemy. The transformed demon dragon has its own plan. There are 10,000 people in the tribe. However, to block the road here, only the bodies of 2 demon dragons are needed. The other demon dragons can guard the rear. As long as someone jumps over, the rear will be blocked. The demon dragon can kill it. At the same time, if the demon dragon blocking the road is injured, the other demon dragons will quickly get on top. He knew that Zhu Yun had the dragon head pillar, and Shui incarnation also went to get the dragon head pillar. As long as the dragon head pillar is there, no matter how serious their injuries are, they can recover under the dragon head pillar. Under such circumstances, these demonic dragons would be reckless and block the crowd that had just formed here. Kill the demon dragon and take the dragon's bones. Brothers will make a fortune. Ha ha ha, the legendary demon dragon? I didn't expect to see so many today. Kill, 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 I just want some dragon scales to make a scale armor. When they were charging, the great knight Immortal King suddenly changed his expression and took out a fairy talisman from his arms. His face was uncertain, and after thinking for a moment, he said, "There are 10 fairy kings guarding outside the city. You are undoubtedly going to die if you come here. Think of a way to go around the back mountain into the city." Just as he put away the fairy talisman, Xianxia suddenly ran over. Fairy King Ye, City Lord Xue, wake up. What? Wake up. The great knight Immortal King was overjoyed, and after a glance at the situation here, he was still stable, so he hurriedly followed Xianxia and ran over. In just a moment, he was already standing in front of City Lord Xue. City Lord Xue, the situation has changed. Not only did City Lord Xue wake up at this time, but even his pseudo-immortal power had been fully restored. Hearing what the great knight Immortal King said, there was another violent movement outside, and his face changed, thinking that the imperial city was in danger. I'll go to the formation and open the formation channel right away. Don't worry, the Immortal King stretched out his hand to stop him, saying, Daiu Zuyunzu has found the Demon Dragon Valley and brought 10,000 demon dragons to help. What, he also found the Demon Dragon Valley? City Lord Xue was stunned and his body froze on the bed. Yes, he found it. The Immortal King took a deep breath, his eyes shining, and said, now with 10,000 demon dragons to help, we can still hold on for a while, but the problem now is that the elite soldiers and generals from the 3 cities outside the city have arrived, but they can't enter the city. City Lord Xue immediately understood and said, Immortal King Yan means that I should use the power of the space immortal route to let them enter the palace. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1456. Then King Xianxia. The teleportation array is ready-made, and it is not difficult to open a channel, but this requires changing the array pattern. After the hundreds of thousands of troops were teleported in, he still needed to be unconscious for a while before he could recover and teleport back the Dian Immortal King in Demonic Dragon Valley. He was not worried about anything else. He was just worried that something might happen in Demon Dragon Valley, which would cause some misunderstanding on the part of Immortal King Dian. It doesn't matter, the palace is important right now. City Lord Xue weighed the pros and cons and agreed. Indeed, if the palace is gone, those of them who are loyal to the immortal emperor will all become losers. Don't be in a hurry, take your time, and don't make sure anything goes wrong. The great knight Immortal King ordered. I know it well. City Lord Xue nodded and said. After a moment, he stood up and went to the bottom of the bedroom with the great knight Immortal King. It's starting. It will take about an hour to change the array pattern and reposition it. Knight Immortal King, the battle is fierce outside. You'd better go outside and watch. The palace is relatively safe now. I'll have Lai San here to watch. Okay, I'll leave everything to you. The great knight Immortal King returned to the heights of the palace again, looking at the millions of troops below, and suddenly gained confidence. He felt that he could hold on until Zuyun arrived. An hour later, City Lord Xue changed the formation pattern and ordered Xianxia to find the Knight Immortal King again. King Xian, I'm going to open the passage. When the time comes, I need you to let them in one by one. Don't squeeze in, lest the secret room won't be able to fit in. The great Knight Immortal King also nodded solemnly. Now, the most critical step has been reached. City Lord Xue took out a few pseudo-immortal crystals and slowly activated the formation. As the pseudo-immortal power circulated, a light gate appeared in the eye of the formation. The great knight Immortal King quickly shouted into the light gate, you guys, line up in 2 teams and pass quickly. In an instant, 2 brothers, Shan Peng and Shan Hao, appeared from the light gate. In the past hour, the great knight Immortal King had already made an agreement with them through the immortal talisman. Now he was shouting to the door, in fact, it was to let Shan Peng and the others confirm their identities, so as not to fall into the enemy's conspiracy. After it was confirmed, Everything went according to plan. Shanpeng and others did not stay in the secret room at all, and without even a greeting, they just ran along the steps of the secret room and ran outside. If you walk slowly, this place will be so crowded that the immortals behind you will not be able to get in. As more and more immortals appeared outside the bedroom, a solemn murderous aura spread out. Gradually, it spread among the millions of troops. Why are there so many people suddenly there? Just kill them. We all have an army of millions, so what does it matter if they hide some backhand? That's right, kill him, we can't retreat now anyway. The immortals quickly put these thoughts behind them, and now they were almost numb. Sun Qinyang and Leng Bing also suffered great losses and retreated to the heights of the palace, recovering frantically. And their original position was also topped by the demon dragon. As the momentum in the palace became stronger and stronger, it gradually spread to the Duanxian River. Xiaolu was concentrating, and after the water incarnation left, he kept in mind what was going on here. No, there are suddenly countless immortals in the palace. Did those immortal kings use some method to pass people in? Xiaolu secretly thought that it was not good. If the palace was occupied, it would ruin the master's important affairs. Roar! Thinking of this, he no longer lurked, but roared angrily, ordering the thousands of monsters lurking under the water to swim to the shore. This directly caught the immortals gathered here by surprise. Ah, there is a monster. There are monsters out of the Duanxian River. Run away quickly. Warcraft is the most dangerous thing in Qingping Fairy Kingdom, and it can stop children from crying at night. In fact, among the millions of soldiers, the number of people who have seen the true appearance of the Warcraft may only be a few hundred at most. And among these hundreds of people, most of them had escaped from the monsters, and they had a heartfelt fear of the monsters. The front was unable to be attacked for a long time, and monsters appeared in the rear. In the entire imperial city, these immortals were instantly demoralized. Those who squeeze forward, those who flee to the side, those who burrow into other people's houses, those who follow the path in and run out of the city. If the force is not on the same side, no force can be exerted. The same is true for this crowd of immortals today. These immortals who did not rush to the front line to face the palace, but more died under the trampling of their own people. Screams and exclamations were heard endlessly, along with the continuous and unique roars of the monsters, reaching the ears of the immortal kings outside the city. Why are there monsters in the city? Almost at the same time, they all looked at Xianxia. The only possibility for a magical beast to appear suddenly is to come out of the broken immortal river. I don't know either. I have been paying attention to the movements in the imperial city. I have passed on any news to you. How can I have time to pay attention to the Duanxian River? Official Xian was confident, but he had already given up on it. The monster has appeared, and it's time for him to leave. However, he still couldn't imagine why the wave of Warcraft appeared at this time. Leave him alone and think about how we will deal with it now. The Desert Immortal King pretended to be calm, but the anxious look in his eyes already revealed his mood at this time. Retreat first. These immortals no longer dare to fight, and they will die if they stay in the city. Immortal King Dezhou made a quick decision and took out a giant gong, then condensed his pseudo-immortal power into a hammer and struck it hard. Clang! Ding! Ding! The sound resounded through the sky, and almost woke up all the inner men. Sound the horn to retreat. The immortals were as if they had been pardoned. At this moment, they had a unified idea and ran towards the outside of the city. Invisibly, this also solved the problem of them running around like headless flies and causing trampling. At the palace, all the monks saw this scene. But no one made a decision. They didn't expect these people to retreat suddenly. But it's good this way, they can hold on for as long as possible. But the question is, where did those monsters come from? Leng Bing looked at the monsters that were slaughtering the immortals over there with an expressionless face. Compared with his thorny demons, the demonic aura of these monsters was a little different. There was a demonic aura mixed in it. And the green poisonous dragon that was leading the way and hovering in the air, he couldn't see through it at all. It was neither a demon nor a demon. But it was a real dragon. I've never heard of a poisonous one. But at least, the targets of these monsters at this time are all those immortals, and they don't seem to have looked at this side for a long time. Leng Bing thought about it and called back the thorn demon. He had some rest, but the thorn demon had been controlling the formation in the air, forming a barrier that blocked the line of sight, and also trapped those immortals who could fly. And when the formation disappeared, those immortals also hurriedly flew out of the city. But who would have thought that Xiaolu would move at this time? He opened his mouth and spit out a mouthful of emerald green mist at the group of immortals. The poisonous mist came, and those immortals fell down one after another. Leng Bing and others were shocked. What kind of poison is this, and it can have such a miraculous effect? If they attack the palace, wouldn't it be? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1457. Among the millions of troops, about 100,000 were killed in the palace, and the moment the monster appeared, tens of thousands died in an instant. Tens of thousands more people died in the trampling. A total of more than 200,000 yuan was touched. Only about 700,000 people were left, and they fled outside the city. The faces of all the immortal kings were ashen. Official Xian, I need an explanation from you. The desert immortal king turned around and shouted coldly, but found that the spot where the river immortal official was standing was empty. Where are the people? The face of the desert immortal king changed. They must have escaped while we were gathering our team. Immortal King Dezhou's expression was not good looking either, and the other immortal kings thought so too. Such a change was immediately more uncomfortable than the loss of more than 200,000 immortals caused by the warcraft. We have all been teased. It seems that official Xian has other plans. Damn it, you're treating us immortal kings like monkeys. The plan to attack the city requires long-term planning. All the immortal kings immediately decided to retreat hundreds of miles away. In an instant, the army that had not rested much moved away like a tide. In an instant, the entire palace became deserted. Xiao Green received instructions from the incarnation of water and just stood firm in the palace, but actually led the monsters in pursuit. Seeing that the crisis here had been eliminated, he simply transformed into a young man in green robes and took the initiative to fly towards the palace. Leng Bing looked stern, ready to take action at any time. When he saw the little green man, he knew that he was not a monster. Is that a demon cultivator? The demon dragon clan? But why, instead of coming with those demonic dragons earlier, did they come out with a group of magical beasts? At this time, a ray of fire suddenly flew out of Sun Qinyang's sleeve robe, and with a clear cry, the fire turned into the appearance of the Phoenix Queen and flew in front of Xiaolu. Master, he has the breath of a real dragon. The childish voice appeared, and for a moment, everyone was stunned. Real dragon? How could a divine beast from the spiritual world appear in Qingping Fairy Kingdom and associate with a group of magical beasts? Fellow Taoists, Xiaolu is here to greet you. Xiaolu smiled slightly, first cupped his hands, and then said, Master has ordered me to lead a group of magical beasts to lurk in the Duanxian River. If there is a critical situation in the palace, we will come out of the river to help. Master? Your master is Zuyun. Sun Qinyang said softly. Exactly. Xiaolu couldn't help but stand up straight. Seeing everyone's expressions become wonderful, he naturally guessed the master's position in the hearts of these people. I see. Leng Bing breathed a long sigh of relief, gave a wry smile, and said, Zuyun is hiding this from us so hard that we almost thought that the palace would not be able to defend it. Xiaolu smiled and said, by the way, I felt the presence of countless people in the palace earlier. Those, were they reinforcements from the palace? After coming out of the Duanxian River, he found that the auras had not moved, and Xiaolu also knew that he had misunderstood. But now that everyone has come out, is it possible to hide back? Naturally, he made the mistake and directly attacked and killed the Immortals, which actually achieved results. Just wanting to catch all those Immortals in one fell swoop is impossible. It's the coalition forces from the three cities on the side of the great knight Immortal King. Xiaolu nodded and said, under this situation, the opponent must not dare to attack the Imperial City again. Looking into the distance, he could already see the dust and smoke when the opponent retreated. Xiaolu added, but we will not kill them, we'll come after all. Do you have any plans to pursue him? Both the Immortal Emperor and Zuyun are not here, let's wait and see. Leng Bing didn't want to make a decision rashly, so he said it tactfully. Xiaolu expressed his understanding and ordered all the monsters to return to the Duanxian River again, while he stayed here. At this time, Xianxuan's expression remained normal as he shuttled through the Xianduan River. The strength of these magical beasts is amazing, but more importantly, the Immortals themselves are afraid of the magical beasts. I don't know if they will fight with the Demon Dragon clan, that's all. No matter what, I'll just stay in the Demon Dragon Valley. I heard the news from King Yangxian that their city master Shui said that the Demonic Dragon Valley is also vast, and no one would know that I am hiding here. An hour later, Xianxuan swam to the Demonic Dragon Valley. But before he even came out, he discovered that the river bank on this side of the Gobi was crowded with densely packed demonic dragons. He was startled, and he quickly held his breath and calmed down, thinking to himself, is there still a demon dragon left in the Demon Dragon Valley? If so, one can imagine how profound the demonic dragon's background is. You can't go ashore here, so it's better to look out from somewhere else. Xianxuan himself doesn't have much combat power. If he hadn't cut off the Immortal River, he would be almost a waste with mid-level Immortal roots. Of course, when escaping from the Imperial City this time, he planned to break through the high-grade Immortal roots in one fell swoop. He had already prepared what he needed. It's just that he followed the Immortal Emperor before, and later sought skin from a tiger with the Immortal Kings. Naturally, his middle-grade Immortal root would not arouse the suspicion of these Immortal Kings. With this in mind, Xianxuan continued to swim upstream of the Duanxian River. 100 feet away, he found that there was no longer a demonic dragon on the river bank, and then he slowly surfaced. But before he could even raise his head, he heard a voice. Friend Taoist, it's almost done. You use the power in your body to attack these demon power constraints. Old dragon, I will help you from the outside to the inside. Best wishes to fellow Taoist. Zuyun? Official Hexian quickly looked in the direction of the sound, and his expression changed involuntarily. Not only did Zuyun not die, he also stayed here well. And he was surrounded by countless cocky light circles. In the light circles, there were also black forces as thin as hair flowing. Looking to the other side, he saw those demon dragons with red eyes and a faint demonic aura all over their bodies. How could he not understand? Zuyun, this kid, seems to have a good relationship with the Demon Dragon Valley, and he has many means. I can't let him live, otherwise, I can't hide in this Demon Dragon Valley. Thinking of this, Xianxuan wanted to kill. He had also heard what the Dragon Demon King said before. Zuyun was now trapped and obviously unable to move. If I condense pseudo-immortal power, I can crush him to death when he is not prepared. Xianxuan did it as soon as he said it. He dived into the broken Immortal River again, returned along the original route, swam to the vicinity of where Zuyun was standing, and then began to carefully control the Immortal route. He could guess that this would be his best chance. If Zuyun was allowed to escape, it would be extremely difficult to defeat Zuyun, let alone kill him. Now Zuyun is like a living target. If he is not killed now, there will be no chance. Xianxia was cautious, paying attention to Zuyun's situation while controlling the speed of his pseudo-immortal power. Finally, he felt that the pseudo-immortal power was almost enough, and Zuyun was now concentrating on attacking the demon power restraints with all his strength. Ha ha ha, Zuyun, die. Seeing that all the demon power restraints were about to be broken free in an instant, Xianxia suddenly jumped up from the broken immortal river. When he was in the air, the immortal root on his forehead was like a big river, spewing out countless pseudo-immortal powers, smashing down on Zuyun's head. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1458. Court Death. Seeing the Hexian official suddenly erupting from under the Duanxian River, the Dragon Demon King couldn't help but change his expression. He didn't care to help Zuyun suppress the demon power again, and immediately rushed forward. Bang! The Dragon Demon King's majestic demonic power suddenly blasted away that giant palm. However, no matter how fast he reacted, the Dragon Demon King could not withstand the full blow of the river immortal official. He immediately spat out blood and flew backwards, smashing down many towering ancient trees in the forest. Fell down. After suffering such a heavy blow, the Dragon Demon King immediately passed out. Damn it, how can this damn dragon react so quickly? Xianxia also felt uncomfortable. He used all his strength to attack Zuyun. At this time, he had no more energy left to deal with Zuyun. Moreover, his sudden appearance at this time has already attracted those demonized demon dragons, and some of them have even targeted Xianxia. This forced Xianxia to dive into the water again and use his immortal root talent to escape the shackles of the demonic dragons. Xianxia, I will kill you. Zuyun's eyes were about to burst. How had he ever been harmed by a person of low strength and then escaped from him? But this roar received no response at all. Zuyun gritted his teeth, wishing he could break free of the demonic power now. I thought that without the help of the Dragon Demon King, his pressure would be even greater. Unexpectedly, it was a mistake, because the appearance of Xianxia attracted the attention of most of the demonized dragons. Suddenly, Zuyun felt that he was alone, and it was not difficult to break free. It's just a matter of time. I don't know when Xianxia will attack again. Judging from the fact that he just made a sneak attack and then disappeared, he must have no means to do so. He must gather his pseudo-immortal power, which will naturally consume more time. Zuyun's mind was sharp and he immediately discovered the key. Time waits for no one. We must break away from the shackles as soon as possible before the attention of those demonized dragons are turned back. Zuyun's eyes narrowed, and under his full concentration, the energy of the spirits was gradually offset by the power of chaos. But at the same time, the consumption in his body is also huge. At the same time, after Xianxia dived into the river, he quickly escaped into the distance. Even someone as strong as Zuyun was trapped here by these demonized dragons, not to mention he was powerless. Demon energy is everywhere, even the demon dragon valley hidden outside the fairyland is not immune. Fortunately, these demon dragons have also lost their minds. Even if they pose a great threat to me, they have no intelligence and cannot locate my location. That's not a problem, since we can't get out of the river at this time. We can simply prepare to break through the highest grade immortal roots. When the time comes, he will definitely be unprepared to face Zuyun. Xianxia was able to hide his power and bide his time beside the immortal emperor for so long without being discovered. He obviously had some scheming intentions. In just a moment, he also found a way to deal with it. Zuyun must die. But if you do a sneak attack like before, I'm afraid it won't work anymore. You can only make yourself stronger, and then pretend to be a pig and eat the tiger. After making the decision, Xianxia escaped all the way until he reached the end of the Duanxian River where there was no more water, and then he appeared. Looking at the almost endless mist of the canyon in front of him, Xianxia took out the items he was preparing to break through. If it goes well, 1 hour will be enough. Even if it doesn't go well, I have already prepared it, and it will only take 2 hours at most. Xianxia felt that the time was completely enough, so he sat down cross-legged and laid out the things he needed one by one. Among these items, there are pseudo-elixirs, elixirs, bones of monsters, blood of monsters, and even some water from the broken immortal river. In short, there are so many strange things, one can imagine how much thought he put into it. We only fight for today. After the breakthrough, we can only continue to guard this demonic dragon valley until the opportunity comes. Official Hexian also knew very well that the reason why he was able to deceive everyone was because he only had middle-grade immortal roots. In addition, he has almost no combat power, so most people will not notice him at all and will feel that he is a threat. But once you achieve high-grade immortal roots, everything will be different. It can be said that this is a road of no return. It's impossible to let the high-grade immortal roots return to the middle-grade immortal roots in the future, right? Here we go. Xianxia took a deep breath and started his own breakthrough by swallowing the Duanxian River water. At the same time, Zuyun looked at the rapid consumption of chaos power in his body, and a flash of light appeared in his mind, but he could not catch it. As time passed, some monsters that could not find Xianxia's aura continued to focus on Zuyun. This also caused some of the demon energy that he had finally offset to begin to increase again, and the pressure on his body also increased accordingly. If it continues, without the help of the Dragon Demon King, I am afraid that it will eventually return to the original situation of being unable to move. The demonic energy mixed with this demon power is really weird. My chaos power, obviously can't do it. Zuyun gritted his teeth. If there were no more barriers between Qingping Immortal Kingdom and Dazhu World, then he would have more power at his disposal. Whether it is the power of faith or the original power of the universe, this problem can be completely solved. He could feel that the demonic energy and demon power were just combined to form a special existence, not because the level of power was higher than his chaos power. Levels of power? Thinking of this, Zuyun's eyes suddenly lit up, and he caught the light in his mind. The chaos power at this time was consumed so quickly, it was like when he purified the chaos power into immortal power. And the immortal power is an existence far higher than the demonic energy and demonic power. In this case, it is better to try to condense the immortal power directly, and then use the immortal power to attack these demonic powers and spirit energy. Just do it, this purification is just a thought. Zuyun shouted in his heart, and the chaos lotus in his dantian trembled suddenly. Then, the chaos power of the 28 lotus hearts was extracted by him at the same time, and finally condensed into a single pulse, which was sent to all parts of the body through 9 pulses. But similarly, the chaos lotus also became a little shriveled in an instant, as if it had been burned by the flames and lost its moisture. Zuyun can no longer care about so much. Because, as soon as the immortal power came out, he didn't move at all, and the demon power restrained all over his body suddenly dissipated. He is not at the highest level of power at all. Zuyun was immediately overjoyed. Before those demon dragons could continue to restrain him, he stepped on the secret of immortality and fled far away from the river bank, running towards the Dragon Demon King. However, he was powerless at the time, and it was not that easy to save the Dragon Demon King. He could only rely on the remaining chaos power to drag the Dragon Demon King deep into the forest. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1459. Zuyun didn't know how to solve the problem of these demonic dragons. Now that the Dragon Demon King was seriously injured, he could only take the Dragon Demon King back. In order to prevent him from hiding, the demonized demon dragon took action against the Demon Dragon King. Although the strength of these demonized demon dragons is only in the transformation stage, they cannot withstand large numbers. Here, there are at least 10,000. The reason why Zuyun was not completely suppressed was because most of the demonized dragons were still behind. They couldn't see here and naturally they wouldn't take action against Zuyun. Under this situation, Zuyun could only retreat and take the Dragon Demon King away from here temporarily. At the same time, he could also prevent the Hexian official from returning after identifying this location. He had a rough assessment of He Xianguan's strength. An immortal who could only make sneak attacks and run away after missing a hit would probably not be able to kill him openly. All he can do is wait until the Dragon Demon King wakes up. Zuyun was not too familiar with the mountain forest, so after losing sight of the original position, Zuyun put down the Dragon Demon King, then took out the spirit stones and set up a star-shifting formation. Not only did he have to wait for the Dragon Demon King to wake up, he also had to practice himself. Using the Duzwangxing shifting formation, the concealment is higher than the 9 turns and 9 suns formation. Call. Zuyun took a deep breath and felt lingering fear. If I hadn't understood the method of purifying the immortal power earlier because of my study of the Divine Eye technique, I'm afraid I would have been doomed again today. Sitting down cross-legged, he then took out 5 spirit beads. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, the 5 elements are complete. Holding it in the palm of his hand, Zuyun pressed each finger on it, and then began to absorb the spiritual power from the 5 spirit beads at the same time. This method of cultivation is actually quite dangerous. The 5 elements are mutually reinforcing and restraining each other, but the prerequisite is that they need to be balanced. As long as you are not careful, these spiritual powers are very likely to collide, resulting in an explosion. It's like a self-destruction array. And how huge is the spiritual power contained in the spirit bead? You know, Zuyun's original idea of using spirit beads to set up an array was based on the idea of using spirit beads with 5 attributes. However, Zuyun knew that his mastery of the 5 elements' spiritual power far exceeded everyone's imagination. When you are poor, you want to change. Because of the 5 elements of Chaos Sutra and the repeated encounters with powerful enemies, Zuyun had the idea of improving his control as early as the pill formation stage and practiced it. Finally, I tasted the sweetness. With his ability, the risk can be minimized at this time. At the same time, you can also restore the chaos power in your body as quickly as possible. If his body was completely empty, it would take him at least several days to refine the power of void chaos in his immortal mansion. Although the spiritual power in the demonic Dragon Valley is abundant, after it is absorbed into the body, it needs to be converted into 5 types of spiritual power, and then converted into chaos power. Not only is this inefficient, 10% of the spiritual power will only be converted into 20% of the chaos power in the end. If possible, he wanted to fully recover his strength before the river immortal official came out of the broken immortal river for the second time. Going to the immortal mansion was obviously not a wise move. In desperation, the most practical idea was to directly access the 5 spirit beads. Zuyun's impromptu idea had a miraculous effect. When the 5 spiritual powers came together in the palm of the hand through the 5 fingers, they were condensed together, forming a gray-white chaotic force. However, this kind of chaotic power is slightly different from the chaotic power in the void of immortal mansion. Fortunately, for Zuyun, as long as it is chaos power, everything is easy to say. After being absorbed into the chaos lotus and refined, the effect is exactly the same. Thanks to the spiritual power in the spirit beads, they are all extremely refined and pure, unlike spirit stones, which are still mixed. This practice has simply opened up a whole new way of practice for Zuyun. From now on, The only advantage of practicing in the immortal mansion is that it will be more advantageous than the time flow in the outside world. But at this time, Qingping Immortal Kingdom is in the universe world. Although not completely integrated, the time is exactly the same. Zhu Yun had confirmed this. Therefore, he did not even think about finding a place to hide while the Demon Dragon King was unconscious, and then enter the immortal mansion to recover. Great, after I recover, I will go to the Duanxian River to find the Hexian official. Zhu Yun felt happy, and then concentrated his mind to continue practicing. I believe that with the speed of his cultivation at this time, he will definitely be able to catch up before he Xianguan fully recovers. But just over an hour later, Zhu Yun suddenly heard a huge roar coming from outside the formation. The sky turned dark at some point. At the same time, golden thunderbolts continued to blast outside the demonic Dragon Valley. The heights of the mountains on both sides of demonic Dragon Valley are unknown, but Zhu Yun can still tell. This is a sign that the immortal roots are about to break through. Who is it, further upstream of the Duanxian River? Is he the official of the immortal river? Zhu Yun stopped absorbing spiritual power, stepped out of the formation, and first used the void-breaking spiritual eye technique, but found that he could not see through it at all. After just thinking for a moment, he used the divine eye technique, and he was immediately sure that this was someone who was trying to break through the immortal root. Withdrawing his gaze, Zhu Yun ran outside the mountain forest and looked at the Duanxian River. Wherever the golden light reaches, it is in the direction where the Duanxian River extends upstream. On the other side of the river, those demonized dragons had receded at some point, probably because there were no other living beings. How about, go down to the river and take a look? Zhu Yun frowned. Regardless of whether the other party was a Hexian official or not, breaking through the immortal roots was not a good thing for him. If he Xianguan breaks through, his immortal roots will mutate like Zhougun, which means he has a stronger opponent. If it wasn't he Xianguan, then who was hiding in this extremely mysterious demonic Dragon Valley? Looking back, Zhu Yun struggled for a long time, and he was a little worried that there would be misunderstandings after the Demon Dragon King woke up. That's all. Zhu Yun took a deep breath and returned to the Dozhuangxing shifting formation again. Then he took out a piece of talisman paper from the ring, left a message on it to the Dragon Demon Emperor, and wrote down the method of exiting the formation. After doing all this, Zhu Yun held 5 spiritual beads in his hand and walked towards the Duanxian River while slowly absorbing the spiritual power in them. This walk lasted for an hour. And he also found himself in the Kunlun Canyon. The golden light has dissipated, indicating that the immortal root tribulation is over. It is unknown whether there is a breakthrough. In this matter, we still need to be cautious. When facing unknown dangers, we must always prepare for the worst. Zhu Yun reminded himself, then stuffed the 5 spirit beads into his arms, flipped his palms, and 9 more fire spirit beads suddenly appeared. At this moment, the mist suddenly surged and turned into a huge palm, falling from the sky and slapping Zhu Yun. The immortal emperor definitely said that this mist is the source of the immortal broken river. I seem to understand something. Zhu Yun had actually locked onto the fog with his soul. There were only 2 directions in the canyon, and there was nothing to block it. If there was any danger, it would definitely come from the fog. When the mist moved, he naturally reacted. With a flash of his body, Zhu Yun disappeared on the spot, and the mist immediately disappeared. 9 times out of 10, it's he Xianguan. Zhu Yun sneered, extremely sure. However, I don't know what kind of immortal root the other party has transformed from the river fairy root. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1460. Zhu Yun's reaction is so fast. The river immortal official who was hiding in the fairy mist did not expect that his sneak attack would be detected by Zhu Yun. However, since he did not show his figure and did not reveal any pseudo-immortal power, he was not afraid that Zuyun would find his specific location. After being secretly surprised, the river immortal official decided to see what Zuyun would do. He could guess that Zuyun would definitely not leave. Hiding in the original position, the river immortal official just watched quietly. And Zuyun simply took out a handful of spirit stones and threw them along the canyon while walking. What is this? Throwing stones to ask for directions. The river immortal official did not understand what Zuyun was doing. He knew spirit stones. He also had a little doubt that Zuyun would set up a formation. But on second thought, the spirit stones were thrown so casually and there seemed to be no pattern at all. How could it be a formation? But he was also afraid of Zuyun's scheming, so he secretly kept his eyes open and planned to wait and see for a while. If he really found a crisis, he would still have time to leave along the fairy mist. With this in mind, Xianxia simply stood still and watched Zuyun walk towards him. Even when he passed directly below him, Xianxia did not make any move. He just watched Zuyun continue to walk forward and left his back to him. Sure enough, I didn't find it, Xianxia frowned. He didn't know the methods of the cultivators, so it was not surprising that he had such a reaction. And Zuyun actually didn't know the specific location of Xianxia, so even if he tried his best to attack the fairy mist, it might not work. But what is certain is that the one who made a move and then there was no movement was undoubtedly Xianxia. Previously in the broken immortal river, didn't he also brew a big move? If it weren't for the help of the Dragon Demon King, I'm afraid he would be the one who died. However, since Xianxia had only made one move before, even if he had broken through the upper grade immortal route now, he would probably still have the same habit of making a move. This is why Zuyun dared to take risks. From the beginning of throwing the spirit stone, Zuyun stopped the action in his hand until he threw it 3 miles away, and then turned around, looking at the spirit stone, with an inexplicable smile on his lips. What is he laughing at? Xianxia had a bad idea in his mind and decided to leave this place temporarily. Unexpectedly, at this time, Zuyun had grasped the array formula in his hand. At the same time, he opened his lips slightly and uttered 4 words. The stars are turning. In an instant, countless spirit stones glowed with dazzling white light, and these lights became one, swallowing all the fairy mist in this section of the canyon. Even Xianxia felt that his eyes went dark and he had appeared in a void. And the intact fairy mist around him gave him a sense of security when he was suddenly frightened. This boy's array is so mysterious. Despite this, Zuyun's method also shocked Xianxia. But fortunately, these fairy mists have not dissipated. He breathed a sigh of relief, but saw that thousands of stars in the void dragged countless long tails of light and crashed into the fairy mist. In addition to allowing him to hide, the fairy mist had no blocking power at all. Immediately, countless stars passed through the fairy mist and drilled out from the other side. But under Zuyun's control, these stars transformed by spirit stones did not stop, but turned around and continued to shuttle through the fairy mist. Zuyun stood in the main array and placed all his soul on these stars. Suddenly, he felt a star being shattered, and the light scattered from the fairy mist, and the spiritual power also dissipated. A gleam of light flashed in his eyes. Now, let's see where you run. After that, he quickly changed the array formula, and all the stars under his control all crashed into the last position of the star. The tail of light is brighter, and the speed of the stars is also faster. In the fairy mist, Xianxia quickly felt the momentum around him soaring, and countless stars followed one after another, and he suddenly realized it. Zuyun himself did not dare to go into the fairy mist to find him, but he used so many spirit stones to find his location. What a smart boy, this is really throwing a stone to test the water. Xianxia exclaimed in surprise, but he was not at all panicked. When he smashed the spirit stone that accidentally passed through, he was already prepared. Humph, but do you really think I have no means to deal with it? With a condensed heart, Xianxia used his fairy root, controlling some pseudo-fairy power, and began to condense these fairy mists layer by layer towards his body. Zuyun saw the fairy mist stirring, and his heart was even more certain. You have fairy mist to protect your body, but I still have countless spirit stones. With a move in his heart, he quickly escaped from the main array and then continued to take out spirit stones to replenish the array. Previously, in the Ascension Secret Realm, he relied on a huge number of spirit stones to deal with Xianxia and others, and finally escaped alive. As for the river immortal officials who had no realm difference, he had no psychological burden at all. Not to mention, all the spirit stone slabs in Daoking City were dug up, and the high-quality spirit stones he dug in the mine were enough for him to squander once. I didn't expect that one day I would need spirit stones to kill people. Zuyun chuckled, and the spirit stones in the ring poured out as if they were free, and continuously merged into the Dozhuan Xinyi formation. In the formation, wave after wave of spirit stone star rains continuously bombarded the fairy mist that had already formed a grey-white shield. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. The sound of vibration is endless. Xianxia only wanted to block a wave of spiritual stone stars and then find a way to escape from the formation. But he didn't expect that Zuyun wouldn't even give him a chance. This spiritual stone star rain comes in waves, and the first wave is hundreds or even thousands. Although the concentrated fairy mist had a substantial protective effect, under the impact of so many spiritual stones, it gradually began to wear away. It turns out that the shield is quite big, and it won't be a problem to accommodate 10 of them side by side. But now, under the consumption of spiritual stones, it is shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. Official Xian's expression finally changed. If we continue to block it, I'm afraid this fairy mist will dissipate sooner or later. But now, I can only take a chance. Anger shot out from his eyes, not because there was no way out of trouble, but because of the price of getting out of trouble. Too big. But compared to death, this is the best outcome. This kid is too strong. He finally broke through to the high-grade mist immortal route. Is it possible that he wants to go back again? Xianxia murmured, but still made a decision. I saw that the immortal roots on his forehead suddenly bloomed with endless golden light. The golden light passed through his immortal mist shield and faced thousands of stars. Boom! The formation was suddenly shaken, and Zuyun outside the formation was knocked over without noticing for a moment.